Welcome to the Love Government. I'm Dennis Leary, and we are doing a series of videos here called Sex Signs. And we're now going to do episode 21 on the sex signs. At this time I want to talk about the Love Government Handbook. The handbook, the manual, the shorthand way of tying things together. And I'm going to use the hand, which we've already said is a sexual symbol. The hand is a sexual organ. And with its 5 extensions, it resembles the 5 extensions of a woman's clitoris. I'm going to talk about then the thumb and the 4 fingers as the 4 points where we try to apply what we've been talking about. The thumb is a symbol of the clitoris because it looks like the nub or the bud of the clitoral head. You look at it just like this. It's a playful, meant to be a playful way of reminding of the ideas that are contained in that sign. So if the thumb stands for the clitoris, then it stands for also clitoral thinking. You're thinking about the clitoris in terms of sign language, so it becomes a clitoral thinking. I want to distinguish between clitoris and the vagina in the woman. The clitoris and the vagina are 2 different systems. The clitoris is for pleasure, love, pleasure, joy. And the vagina and associated systems is for reproduction. So there's a clitoral system and there's a vaginal system. The urethral system is connected with the clitoral system. The clitoris, when it's stimulated, agitates, arouses, engorges, and so on. And sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, that through the urethra there's an ejaculation of fluid, of water. It becomes a little geyser. If it's not blocked by the penis in intercourse, or blocked in other ways, it's a symbol in itself. It's important to make these distinctions because it relates to very practical matters that I'm going to put into that context, and that is birth control methods, artificial birth control versus natural birth control methods. And then, if that doesn't work, you get into abortion and unwanted pregnancies and child rearing itself later on. So these are crucial areas that affect people's lives and the decisions they make regarding these things. But more than that, these actions of artificial birth control, abortion, unwanted pregnancies, these actions are embedded in our Constitution. They're constitutional mechanisms that operate no matter what we think or believe. It has effects on our life quality. It has effects on the way the world is going. Sometimes it's called karma, but it has real effects which are beneficial, love-producing, joy-producing, or effects that produce evil, suffering, death, confusion, agony, anxiety, fear, terror, suicide thinking, and actual suicides, miserable deaths, war, pestilence, disease, and famine, the 4 horsemen. War, death, pestilence, famine. These things are realities on the negative side, and we are doing them The mass of people are doing these things. It's not just the elite leaders who are corrupting us, torturing us, terrorizing us. It's the mass of the people who do these actions that have destructive effects. And my point and my claim and my reason tells me that artificial birth control is destructive. Now that goes against the cultural grain because artificial methods of birth control are commonly accepted as something very nice to have. But if you look at it closely, it's not natural birth control, it's artificial, and a barrier is placed between the lovers. A barrier. It can be a thin plastic barrier, like a condom or a cervical cap, but it's a barrier. It's a wall. It's a division. It's a separation. It's a cleaving of something that was meant to be natural. So artificial birth control includes pills, another artificial thing taken into the body, supposedly for the benefit of the person taking it so that she and he can have more sex. And they don't have to worry about pregnancy. And it works to the benefit of those who are making these products. They're made for money. These artificial products are made in order to make money. The motivation, which enters into the constitution of what's happening and the quality of the actions, is about money. You almost want to say primarily. It's a money-making system. And it's using people's gullibility and ignorance to make that money. It's foisted upon them. Now what about the idea, if I have artificial birth control, a pill, condom, a cap, an intrauterine device, whatever it is, anything that's artificial, not natural, what's wrong with that? Well, we don't even want to put terms of right or wrong, but it backfires. It is destructive, even though you might not think so. So you can have uninhibited sex, so you think. But you're already bound up by the money operation, by the money machine, first of all, and then there's still a barrier to something. You're not free. You're not free to go totally, passionately, over the top, totally into sex, giving your whole life and soul and heart as sex was meant to be, because you've got a barrier there. It's plastic, it's money, it's whatever, the barrier. If there's a barrier, there's a barrier, there's a wall. You're not totally into it. You're already putting a restriction. And then maybe, I shouldn't say you so much, I say myself, we, I, because I've done that. And it's going to cut you off in a way you don't even realize. It's separating you, cutting, or me, switch it, I don't want to project onto you, but it cuts me off in my very life. The source of life is being cut off by a piece of plastic or some kind of chemical that has side effects in itself. It changes things inside. It just does things that is, in the long run, destructive. That's what I'm saying. But I'm just saying, love government, and the love government is me at this point, and the ones that come in under the aegis of the love government, past, present, and future, artificial birth control is artificial. It's not natural. It's not 100% passionate love. Now, contrast that with natural means of birth control. And my contention is you can have way more sexual pleasure through natural, because you're in tune with nature. I'm in tune with nature, I should say. In the nature-based love culture, say 100,000 years ago, when our species was new and it was evident who we were, how we acted, we didn't need barriers because nature took care of the population and the pleasure in its own way. And if there were no artificial barriers to it, the pleasure could be all out ecstatic. It's designed to go into the lovesious level, beneath the unconscious and beneath the conscious level. So in the full-out sexual ecstasy, consciousness is changed. For that moment, for us it's pretty brief. The love culture went on for long, long periods in a communal context where we were already in a different consciousness. Sex is called little death. We were already dead in a sense, but alive in another sense, in the sexual act of climax and orgasming and producing the sexual fluids which are sacramental. Now if you're in an artificial state, all of that is cut off at the root with a tiny piece of plastic or a few dollar bills that benefit the corporations who are making money through artificiality. In a love culture, the birth control was natural. First of all, there was a period when the woman becomes sexually active and ovulatory. It means there's a period, or there used to be, or I read about it, I think it's true, where a woman, a young girl in this case, does not ovulate yet, but she's sexually active. Now, I don't know, I thought it was like, whoever explained this was, there's a period of years there, I don't know, 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever. So, in other words, the young girl could have all the sex she wanted, with all the boys she wanted, and not get pregnant, naturally. She gets sex, she gets her fill of sex early when she should get it. That is, the whole thing has been killed off in our culture. It simply doesn't exist anymore, I don't think, because the circumstance, the situation has all changed. So that's one the first stage of birth control. The second is when the woman does choose to get pregnant, and she can go all out, wherever she wants to. There's no barriers placed, and then the child is really wanted. That's called a wanted pregnancy, and it makes all the difference in that child's life, all the difference in the community's life. And then the mother has the baby, and then she begins to nurse the baby. Lactation, that's another natural birth control. The tendency is not to get pregnant when you're lactating. And then, of course, after menopause, then when the woman becomes a matron, then she can have all the sex she wants. And she can be a sexual teacher. Not just word, but she can show the community, because she's had all this experience in her life, so she can have all the sex she wants, and she doesn't get pregnant. So you can, all ages and can have sex with her. And it's a natural way of birth control. In addition to that, there are other ways to do it. You can, if the man is trustworthy, he simply withdraws at the moment of climax, and if you're tuned into your sexual bodies, you know when that's coming. And so he simply withdraws the penis from the vagina, and then the seed goes into the earth, which is a nurturing sacramental process. He's seeding the earth. That's called withdrawal. Or you can have sex during menstruation if you're not too finicky, and you think it's icky when it's really not. It's blood. The blood is wonderful. Thank you for listening and joining with us and supporting this. And we're learning as we go here. And we sign off with love. Love, always love. Thank you.